What'd you think? Did you like the new stadium?
I love the new stadium.
Yeah,
It would have been even better if people were there. It's just so bizarre to have two of the nicest stadiums we've ever seen open with no one there.
right.
It's still strange to see it, although I'm much more used to it now than I was a week ago.
Agreed, but it does have a good look. I like the cool, what are they, that carbon flame they have there to represent Al Davis. I love all the black seats, certainly. I mean, it's got a great look on the outside. You're right. The last two stadiums, the last 2 weeks, pretty unbelievable, and way to go, Raiders. What is it, Mike? Are you more like pro Raiders, like, whoa, I'm impressed by what they did, or are you a little bit more right now as of Tuesday morning going, whoa, I'm not exactly sure how good the Saints are exactly?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And I think we get an answer to each question this weekend because the Raiders go to New England to play the Patriots and the Saints go home to face the Packers. So there's a chance both of those teams are going to get blown off the field come Sunday. New England doing it to Las Vegas, almost said Oakland, and the Saints doing it to Green Bay. Didn't almost say Milwaukee. So I think that's the reality. It's still to be determined because we're so used to a reality in which the Raiders are mediocre at best and the Saints are mediocre at very, very worst, on their worst possible day. And I think that history has me thinking, well, the Saints without Michael Thomas, and they kind of got away from them, and you're ready to go well on both sides. Maybe the reality is the Raiders are getting a lot better. It helps to have Josh Jacobs. It helps to have Derek Carr playing a hell of a lot better, and it helps to have Josh Jacobs to do that. And, Drew Brees is 41, and Father Time continues to be undefeated.
Yeah, no, you feel good about the Raiders. We certainly saw positive things last night, and there are certain areas where they match up pretty well against the New Orleans Saints. Their big offensive line against that big defensive line of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, the Raiders held their own at the very least, really allowed them to keep being at least consistent with the run game, which helped out the rest of their offense. Yeah, the Saints had no Michael Thomas, but I did find myself there a little wondering last night. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not trying to rush to judgment where I just went, man, all right, the Saints don't look that impressive. Can't lie, they didn't look that impressive in week one either. And I know it's still the first 2 weeks of the year, but I did find myself at some point, I don't know, what was it, third quarter there going, man, maybe this Saints team is past its shelf life. Maybe it's on a downward, it's going down. And, the last 3 years, yeah, they were great, but how many more really great years do they have in them? And then you sit there and watch the game and you go, yeah, I know no Michael Thomas, but you said it, Drew Brees is 41. And other than Alvin Kamara, who can make a big play on the offensive side of the ball? And he's not necessarily a guy that's going to go, 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. In the pass game, man, it's work. It's work. I mean, it's got to be 5 yards at a clip, 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards. It's hard to drive in the NFL like that always. And then, Mike, I'd even throw it over to the defense and just go, what's to be excited about there right now? Who's a difference maker? Who's the guy that you look at and go, man, you got to stop him or he's all over the place. They don't have that. So I guess I'm a little concerned or more concerned about the Saints than I thought I would be after 2 weeks.
What's amazing is the passing numbers for the Saints, far more spectacular than what our eyeballs tell us watching the game. 312 yards from Drew Brees, over 8 yards per attempt, which suggests they're getting the ball down the field. The ball was distributed to 9 different guys. Alvin Kamara had 95 yards on 9 catches, and he had 79 yards rushing. That is, if my math is correct, and it rarely is, 174 yards from scrimmage and a couple of touchdown runs. It looks like when you just scan through the stats, hey, Saints had a good night. Well, they got off to a good start. It was 17-7. It looked like, here we go. Turn it off in the third quarter unless you want to sit around and watch a lot of garbage time football. And then maybe it is that the defense can't take advantage of that opportunity to deliver the kill shot that would give the offense a chance to go up 24-7, 31-7, and then it's over.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the defense is a work in progress at the very best. I mean, that the first thing is we know why they were in the Jadeveon Clowney sweepstakes. We heard that. We knew they made major play for him. Well, I think we've seen through 2 weeks, the inability for guys in the front seven to make a play, make a difference there. The corners and the secondary, you like it, but I don't think that's up to par either. Marshawn Lattimore, for as talented as he is, he still gives up too many plays. So, yeah, it's unbuttoned. And then when you talk about the offensive side of the ball, yes, statistics are good. They're always good with Sean Payton. But there's nothing there that moved the needle when the game needed to be moved. When we started, we need passes now. We need a 100-yard quarter now, not when it's 31-17 and the other team is, or what do I want to say? Yeah, 31-17. And, okay, the other team's now in a little bit of a play-safe, prevent type defense. And, okay, we get down there and get a touchdown in the fourth quarter and, rack up stats like that. It's a little too late at that point. And that's why, there's some BS stats there.
There was just a sense of malaise, almost sleepwalking in the second half for the Saints. They never could get the engine started, and it never felt like they had a serious opportunity to come back and win the game. Let's hear from the two guys most responsible for the Saints offense since 2006, quarterback Drew Brees and coach Sean Payton.
Are we totally in sync right now? No, we're not. We're not even close to what we are capable of. Not even close. We did some good things tonight early on, but it just wasn't enough for the few opportunities we had. We needed to take better advantage of that.
You got to credit Las Vegas. Those guys did a great job. They got in and out of plays versus our coverage looks. And one by one, they made the plays when they needed to, especially in the last half of that game. Third quarter, fourth quarter, our third down numbers were poor. And we didn't do a good job of stopping one of their better players.
It's funny. Anytime I see someone wearing a shirt like Drew Brees, I start running the number through my memory bank. What is the significance? Is it a social justice statement?
Yeah, what is that?
Something I'm missing? 149. It's Michael Thomas. It's Michael Thomas's reception total last year.
Oh, wow.
And it was fitting that Drew Brees wore that shirt last night because he could have used Michael Thomas. I wonder if that's his subtle way of saying, don't blame me. We'd have won the game if Michael Thomas didn't have an ankle injury.
Well, it does seem a little weird, and that was the concern of not having Michael Thomas. First off, he's a talented football player. We know that. Then he fits in with how Sean Payton wants to call offensive football. And even more importantly, he fits into Drew Brees at 41, who, here we are. We're discussing Drew Brees' inability to throw the ball down the field or outside the numbers through 2 weeks is an issue. It's an issue. And then when you don't have a guy like Michael Thomas who lives and kills NFL football weekly with intermediate to short passes for the most part, yeah, that was a big part of their offense missing. But that to me is the silver lining of the game in itself. Just playmakers for that Saints team. And, up 17-7, right, Mike? Got the ball and got a wide open Jared Cook on the left sideline running like a corner route. Ball gets kind of thrown high and above him, and it was like the game was never the same. From that point on, the Raiders started to move the ball a little bit the same way the Saints do, just picking you apart 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. But you sit there and you start to go, well, damn, the Raiders might have a few more difference makers on the offensive side of the ball than the Saints when it comes down to it. I mean, Darren Waller, everybody saw last night. He's in that conversation with Kelsey and George Kittle. And then we saw Josh Jacobs and things like that too. So they were able to create enough plays with their playmakers and that similar Sean Payton style of offense with John Gruden where, yeah, little inside slant, little throw to the back out of the backfield. All of those type of things were very effective on the Saints all night long.
Michael Thomas wasn't there, but he was watching the game, and it would have been better for him to just go ahead and self-report himself to Old Takes Exposed instead of tweeting, might get ugly fast, LOL, and then deleting it. Oh, they still get you even if you don't self-report. The Freezing Cold Takes account. They're going to get you. It's always better to self-report yourself. But yeah, Michael Thomas might get ugly fast, LOL. No, it got ugly slow, Michael. The Raiders ended up coming back, obviously, as we know at this point, unless Michael turned it off and went to bed and the Raiders got it done. And it should make Thomas feel good at some level. Like, you want your team to win. You want your team to rack up as many wins as possible. But it is nice to know at some level they really do miss me.
Well, it is nice, I'm sure, yes. But he realized that before, how important he was. Yeah, does this, honestly, it confirms that he knows he's a big part of this offense and they're not as good. But he's not happy, that's for sure, because, of course, he's trying to win a Super Bowl, too. This is a team that's got Super Bowl on their mind, and that's all there is to it. And we've seen them the last few years. That's where, I go, let's pump the brakes a little, even though I don't like the way the Saints have looked. They have traditionally, through the last few years, been a slow-starting football team. So, like Drew Brees says, maybe this is we're just in the early stages. They can get a lot better. But I do think there's a few things that concern me right now. And as we sit here, 1-1, that's good. They're certainly not in the doghouse or anything. But week 1, we thought the offense looked crappy against the Buccaneers too. It was crappy. And then the defense had moments of making a few plays, but not looking great either. So the Saints are kind of to be determined in my mind right now.
As the great Larry King once said to Jerry Seinfeld, sometimes shows go down, and as Seinfeld said, sometimes people do as well. Drew Brees last night facing the question of whether he is seeing his skills and his career deteriorate.
It's a popular narrative already from a lot of analysts that they're concerned we're seeing a sharp decline from your performance, and some stats that, your air yards are the shortest through 2 games of any quarterback in more than a decade. What would you say to counter the narrative that you don't feel like you're starting this season showing decline?
Well, my job is to execute the offense, right? And so I think I've always evaluated myself on being a great decision maker. And so at the end of the day, I'm gonna throw the ball to the open guy, move the ball down the field, score points, help us win football games. So that's my job. My job's not to have the most air yards or throw the ball down the field the most or anything like that. My job's to help us win. My job's to help put everybody around me in the best position to succeed. And that's all I'm focused on.
A lot of football players would like to become actors. I think Drew Brees has the chops because he was pissed at that question, Chris.
No
you
doubt.
could see it as it was being asked. And he thought about, maybe he was watching the show yesterday, he thought about the Bill Belichick 22-second just don't say anything,
Yeah.
and they'll move on to the next question.
No, I don't think Drew would do that. I'm sure he wanted to be hey, F you. We got other issues on the offense. It's not me, anything like that. Listen, bottom line is, air yards for Drew Brees have never been very high. I mean, even in years where he was having huge statistical years, he was always towards the bottom. Especially these last few years, towards the bottom of air intended yards as far as the ball traveling in the air. But it's more than that through the first 2 games. You heard Brian Griese allude to it early in the game last night there on Monday Night Football, talking about last week he was off. We saw balls that, went high, that fell short of the target. We saw it again last night. I mean, that's just the thing and it's not like we're seeing balls that fall short of the target that are 25-yard out routes. We're seeing 8-yard throws at the ankles. We're seeing an interception down the middle that's 6 feet short of the target. We're seeing 3rd downs where he has to move in the pocket and there's a guy open over the middle and the ball just hangs in the air forever and a linebacker can run and close down and knock it down to not get the completion. So I think that's the thing that's more concerning. I don't care about necessarily the intended air yards, but it's the way it also looks. And that's where I just question, man, it's hard work. I know it's Drew Brees and Sean Payton and they're the kings of execution. But to just think you're going to go on 10 and 12 play, 80-yard drives, game after game after game, and do that, that's a lot to ask of your whole football team. And if you make one mistake, the drive gets messed up and nothing's the same.
Yeah, that's the thing about their offense, and that's why when they were down 14 points late in the game,
you said there's no chance.
How you don't have the kind of offense that's going to consistently give you 25 and 30 yards per play when you need it the most. It's more hoping that you pop something
Right.
on a short pass that goes that far.
Right.
But at that point of the game, when they're keeping everything in front of them, and that's why I was surprised, frankly, that late in the game, that's what the Raiders were doing, because you don't have to do that. You don't have to stay back. You're playing into the Saints offense if you stay back. Go ahead and be aggressive and force him to throw it over the top, because he's not going to do it.
No, he's not. But,
it-
that scares coaches always, right? You just, oh, man, here goes Alvin Kamara one-on-one out of the backfield, and our guy trips and falls, and then it's a that's. But you're right. You're right in your thought, though. Like, you don't need to back off and prevent defense similar to, like, maybe other quarterbacks. You could probably push the envelope a little bit with the Saints and Breeze because of the things you're mentioning.
Okay, so how about this?
Yeah.
And we're not starting the conversation. We're just raising the question of at what point the conversation becomes a conversation. And I don't think it does all year long. Jameis Winston signed as a free agent after the Buccaneers moved on. The only guy on the entire active roster in the first 2 weeks who didn't play for the Saints. Taysom Hill, who got a big contract. And it looks like the contract that was given to Taysom Hill was more about making the down payment on keeping him around,
Right.
not using him more. In fact, you could make the argument
They need to
that-
use him more.
well, that they need to use him more generally. He had 14 offensive snaps last night, 9 snaps on special teams. They are using him much more sparingly on special teams, which tells me that when you consider both ends of it,
Yeah,
they're protecting him in the event that they need him.
you're right.
And they're either going to need him because of injury or because Sean Payton's going to get to a point where he says, sorry, Drew, it's not working. And again, I don't think it gets to that point this year. I think a lot's got to go haywire
Yeah.
for that to happen. But it doesn't make sense to pay Taysom Hill all that money, and then he has 2 rushes for 8 yards, 0 catches, and 0 passes last night. I was alarmed that there wasn't even a single pass attempt for Taysom Hill last night. So we saw, I thought, the best guy on the field for the Saints and maybe the best guy on the field for either team in the wild card playoff loss to Minnesota. That's what sparked the conversation about what's his future, and the Saints paid him the big contract, $21 million over 2 years with $16 million guaranteed, and now they're protecting him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense unless they're protecting him in the event that number 7, not number 9, is going to be playing quarterback at some point before the end of the year. Again, I don't think it should happen. I don't think it will happen.
No, I'm with you.
But there's got to be an explanation for all of a sudden Taysom Hill not being used on special teams as much as he was. He played 84% of the snaps on special teams in the playoff game, 19% last night. Something's going on there with Taysom Hill where they are keeping him in a not a full-blown bubble wrap,
Yeah.
but just kind of a coating of protective plastic.
Yeah, right now he's just the guy that the other team has to prepare for. Like, oh, we got to prepare for some of these Taysom Hill plays, but you're not going to really see him that much. But it's a pain in our butt. So, yeah, we'll get ready, and we don't want to get burned by it. But, yeah, he's not a part of the flow of the offense by any stretch of the imagination like we've seen over the last 2 years, where he's been a great weapon and been that guy, Mike, that we're just talking about where we say there's a lack of the Saints offense. He's been that guy to create big plays and bring a little energy to the offense, whether it's the design runs and him running over people or ripping off an 8 or 10-yard gain. It does add juice to their offense and a little bit of an explosive element, or him setting up to throw deep passes, which also sometimes leads to him then scrambling and getting a 10, 15-yard scramble that also is there, on the verge of an explosive type play. But I think, Mike, you hit it. I think it's like bubble wrap because they view him as the future to a degree. And I think they're stuck in between right now because, yeah, if something did happen to Drew Brees, I think we both get the sense that it would not be Jameis Winston this year like it was Teddy Bridgewater last year, that it would be Taysom Hill, that it's finally come time to groom him for the next step. And I guess that's why they're saving him. But, like you're saying, when they've been at their best, that on the offensive side of the ball, he's a part of it, and their special teams. And that's when they put a lot of pressure on you in all 3 phases of their football team.
And here's the thing. Last night was by no means a statement game by the Raiders against the Saints. It was just one of those where we are still undecided about what we saw and what it means.
That's right.
Now, the Saints have to pack up in Las Vegas, go back to New Orleans on a short week, and get ready for the Packers to come to town on Sunday Night Football.
Wow.
Where everyone's going to be watching. That's where the statement game could happen. That's where the wheels could come off. That's where the conversation we're having today, all of a sudden, by next Monday, Chris, that conversation could be much more widespread.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're just planting a flag at the possibility that on Sunday night, and we always want a close, exciting game down to the wire on Sunday Night Football on NBC. We want every game to be close and exciting, but especially the ones on our network. But if it gets ugly on Sunday night,
Yeah.
and think about it, Aaron Rodgers going into another loud stadium that isn't going to be loud at all because no fans are going to
Right.
be there, so
Lucking
the pass
out.
rush gets neutralized,
Right.
and the way he's been playing, and they think Devontae Adams will be good to go. He left the third quarter of Sunday's win over Detroit with a hamstring injury. I don't want to turn this into a full-blown preview for Sunday Night Football, but my point is this. If the Packers do to the Saints what the Packers did to the Vikings and what the Packers did to the Lions, only the fourth team in NFL history to score more than 80 points and gain more than 1,000 yards in the first two games of a season, if they make that 120 and 1,500, that's when the conversation is going to be a lot louder about, are the Saints in decline, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, agreed. You're right. I mean, on that spotlight, Rodgers, there's Breeze. You know, it's highly likely, of course, you're going to see right now Green Bay, you're going to see Rodgers pushing the ball down the field, and that'll even shine a spotlight more on Drew Brees to go, wait, where's his plays like that? So it'll be interesting to see. And I think that's why, that's why I'm a little concerned too, just because just from what we've seen from the Raiders in 2 weeks, the Raiders defense is not good. I think that's why I'm concerned. I mean, we saw last night they had a hard time tackling Alvin Kamara in the backfield. I mean, they could have gave the ball to him more. That would be one thing I'd say to Sean Payton. Like, why didn't you just hand him the ball more in the backfield, like the true run game? But, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers diced up the Raiders. And as we saw, after, like, those first two series with the New Orleans Saints and, like, they run out of, okay, Sean Payton, here's like the plays I really love going in the game. These are our game plan plays. We're going to gash them with that. Okay, now we've that part of our game plan's off. Ooh, they've made some adjustments now. Now what do we go do? They were unable to make plays. That's just the simple fact of the matter against a defense that I think everybody would agree that has no playmakers, none. I mean, they're young and inexperienced in the secondary. They blow coverages. There's nobody to talk about in the front four that's, like, really special there. You know, same thing. Linebackers, they got Corey Littleton, but that's about it. I think that's where I get concerned about the Saints going, man, that Raiders defense, young and experienced, not the soundest of schemes, and they still went basically 2.5 quarters of struggling to move the ball. I think that's what probably bothered me more than anything.
Okay, all the Raiders fans out there are saying,
I know.
Hey, you idiots, you're 24 minutes into the program and you've been obsessed with the Saints. Well, there's
Sorry.
a method to the madness, although there isn't. This is just my story and I'm sticking to it. It's 4:24 a.m. in Nevada right now, live,
Yeah.
right? So we gave John Gruden a chance to get to the office. For the re-air, it's 7:24 a.m. in Nevada and in California, where the concentration of Raiders fans are. We're giving you folks a chance to wake up before we begin to praise the team that is surprisingly 2-0. The one team that is matching the Kansas City Chiefs. And just think if the Chiefs hadn't beaten the Chargers, they'd be 2-0. But either way, the Raiders are 2-0,
Right.
tied atop the AFC West, and they deserve the praise for what they did last night, holding serve at the christening of the giant Roomba in the desert. They get it done, and you have to give them credit. And let's hear from the head coach of the team that got it done and the quarterback who got it done.
That's
John
right.
Gruden and Derek Carr.
Well, for the last couple of weeks, we've been pretty good taking care of the ball, talking no turnovers, converting on third down, having some balance, and winning the time of possession. And when you can win the time of possession and keep Breeze and Sean Payton over there together on the sideline, you have a chance. But we knew it was going to be a 15-round fight here tonight. We knew the Saints were going to give us everything that we had, and certainly the third down conversions was big tonight.
I'm tired of talking. You know, if some people can probably hear it in my voice sometimes. You know, it's nice. You know, it's nice to go out and be 2-0. It's nice to play against the Saints, the world champions. You know, top whatever defense, top whatever offense. The special teams unit's one of the best in the league, and get a win. I mean, that feels good. You know, it's a good statement Monday night, all that. But just like I told the guys after the game when we brought it up, I said, job's not done. If we want to, be all excited and, feel good about ourselves because people are saying nice things now and all that kind of stuff, then we're going to go to the Patriots on a short week and lose.
Hey, you go to the Patriots on a short week and lose anyway. I mean, look, I'm not ready to christen the Raiders as a team that's ready to go 3-0. Now, you want to get everybody's attention, you go to Foxborough and you beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
I just don't see enough from this Raiders team to think that they're going to be able to do it. They should just be happy they're 2-0 and keep grinding 1 week at a time and go in there with the mind. Of course, they're going in there with the mindset they're going to try to win.
Right.
You may win. But even if you lose, you're going to grow as a team. You're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to figure out what you need to address to improve so you can win more games. Remember, 7 playoff spots available. You start 2-0, you're in. And we always, after the second week, we start hearing all the stats about the teams that go 2-0. X percent of them make it to the playoffs, and 0-2, X percent don't. Well, it's all going to change this year because there's another spot. So you start 2-0, you're already ahead of the game for, at a minimum, wild card number 3. So good news for the Raiders, but look, they've got some. Patriots, Bills, Chiefs, Buccaneers. 2-0 could become 2-4 real quickly, Chris.
Yes, it can. It definitely can. Well, we'll say this, and you're right. I'm not ready to crown the Las Vegas Raiders or anything like that, but they are 2-0. They won a game in week 2 that we did not expect them to win. Nobody picked them, right? So they do that, and this is the one thing I'll say about my ex-coach and John Gruden and everything there. His teams are tough. They were tough as hell last year. They're still in the early stages of like rebuilding this football team. They're young throughout their roster. But man, I mean, they bring it to you. We talk about John Gruden and, West right slot, 72 Z bingo, U split, or scatter to West right slot, F left, 372, Y stick, Z spot. But he's old school, and he wants to run the football. And that's the one thing he does with this football team is he creates an attitude where their offensive line, it's big, it's mean, and it blows people off the line of scrimmage. That always gives them a fighting chance. And even games where they're overmatched or not the better team on the football field. So that's been big. And then we got to give Derek Carr credit. I mean, Derek Carr's playing really good football. Were there a few plays last night that we saw, Mike, and my old teammate Brian Greasy pointed out a few times, like, hey, I wish he would have thrown the ball down the field here or been a little bit more aggressive. Without a doubt, still a work in progress there. But damn, does he execute the offense? And damn, does he put every short throw right on the money to where the guy like a Darren Waller, he could always run after the catch. He could always run and through the arm tackle or stop on a dime to make a guy go by so he can make a miss. That's where he's really great that way. I mean, I wish he was more aggressive, but he's playing the damn position pretty damn good right now.
What you always say about the John Gruden offense, it's a Ferrari. He entrusts you with the keys, and he doesn't want you to wreck it or even scratch the paint.
Right.
Last night, Derek Carr did not wreck it or scratch the paint. The thing is, though, he also wants the quarterback to know when to put the pedal to the metal and let it fly and see how fast he can get it going, and that's where Derek Carr still continues to be hesitant. But when you have Darren Waller, how about Darren Waller? 12 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. It's actually one catch short of his career high. He had 13 last year against the Vikings. But Darren Waller quickly becoming one of the best tight ends in the NFL. We did our best tight ends draft other than George Kittle and Travis Kelce. Maybe it should have been other than Kittle, Kelce, and Waller.
Well, yeah, I think I was glad. I'm pretty sure he was our first pick or my first pick, though, because he is a guy that, the national media, normal, everyday fans who just turn on football, oh, hey, a game's on. I don't think they know him yet. So we had to draft him or put him in the draft. But you're right, he's in the class of those guys. I mean, he's a pretty good run blocker, and he is phenomenal in the pass game, as you saw. And Gruden is amazing at figuring out how to get the tight end the football. He really is, especially a big tight end like that, Mike, because he can also, Gruden's got, knows how to use the tight end, but has all those Michael Thomas slot plays too, to where a tight end like Darren Waller can do all that stuff, those inside slants and different routes to expose underneath linebacker coverage and stuff. He's amazing that way, and he's such a big body. He just catches the ball and people fall off him, or he runs away from you. And at that size, to be that big and run the way he does, he's pretty special. They were brilliant last year and getting out in front of that contract and giving him $9 million a year early on in the year last year, because he exploded, and he could sit here this year and probably have asked to be the highest paid tight end in football other than George Kittle, and probably would have been able to justify that.
I'm amazed by the stats generated by Josh Jacobs. I thought he did a lot better than 88 yards on 27 carries, 3.3 yards per carry. You take out his long run of 14, he had 2.8 yards per carry on 26 carries, Chris. I thought he was grinding it out a lot more than that.
Well, he was grinding it out. You know, he was. It's not easy sledding, as we've talked about for like the last 2 years with the Saints. They got a lot of big bodies on that defensive line. I think the fact that you're capable of getting 2, 3, 4 yard type runs, that's almost a win against the Saints, because they're used to like, oh, you run on first down, oh, it's 2nd and 10, you went nowhere. That's kind of the way they play football. And you know, too, Mike, you're right. When I first saw the stats, I looked at it and I went, it just seemed like he had a better day. But I think in the big moments, you know, first down runs, that was big. And the carries got a little watered down by a few goal line situations and short yardage situations where, you know, hey, we all knew he was running up the middle, and he had 3 or 4 carries where he, you know, barely got to the line of scrimmage or only got a yard in those goal line situations. And of course, that always makes the numbers look uglier too.
Still had 30 touches for the night, so you know it's the kind of thing that running backs love until they realize they're only playing 4 or 5 years because their bodies have been banged up. There also were a couple of losses, and Trey Hendrickson blew him up in the backfield on one of them. It was a great play for Hendrickson, because it was one play after a roughing the passer call on Hendrickson. He put his hand up, and his hand hit the helmet of Derek Carr,
right.
And the Raiders got 15 yards. And then on the next play, Hendrickson blew up Josh Jacobs to atone for it a little bit. But Jacobs, you know, he's what John Gruden needed. One of the 3 first-round picks last year. He was in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but for Kyler Murray, he would have been. And now he's in a position where he's piling up the yards, even if it wasn't as many last night as we thought it would be. And it gives the offense what it needs, that big presence in the running game that sets up the passing game.
No doubt. It protects a defense that we know is not that talented. It keeps the offense on the field, chewing up the clock. Like John Gruden said, you know, it kept Drew Brees and Sean Payton on the sideline. That's the best defense for their football team. Gruden knows his defense is young and still a work in progress. So that's why he continues to do that. And that's where Jacobs is special, Mike, because, you know, he can be a little bit of that Alvin Kamara out of the backfield type guy, and you go, oh, wow, look at those moves. But he's got a true, you know, workhorse type mentality when he's a runner, like where it's like, damn, I mean, he just grinded it in there like Derrick Henry and just putting his head down and smashing in there and making those type of runs too. Very interesting combination. But Gruden loves to run the football. I think it's one thing that's always kind of been underrated as far as the talk aspect of what Gruden brings to the football team. That physicality, that offensive line, it helps them control the game in a lot of ways, and it helps out their short passing game too, because you're worried about stopping that run and packing in the box there.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.